Hi, and welcome back to another Morgan Sankofa video. Today I will be reading An American Sunrise by Joy Harjo. So the first review says, An American Sunrise is a wisdom quest as Joy Harjo returns to the place of her ancestors. This haunting and breathtaking book involves the relocation of the southeastern peoples, of what they endured and lost. Harjo is a visionary and truth-sayer, and her expansive imagination sweeps time, interpolating history into the present. She writes, Rivers are the old roads, as are songs to traverse memory, creating a confluence of words, a new language for storytelling arises. An American Sunrise is a powerful tour de force. So here's what she looks like. That is her playing the saxophone. I believe one of the poems says that her aunt taught her how to play the saxophone. Okay, the first one I really liked was called Let There Be No Regrets. The songs and stories that formed us are restless and need a place to live in the world of our grandchildren. They are weary with waiting. Earth continues to dream her dreams through desperate thoughts, fed by money, hunger, roam our minds. To the destroyers, Earth is not a person. They will want more until there is no more to steal. Earth, who does not know time is patient, the destroyers will destroy themselves. So many Earth spirits take care of this place. They emerge from the cliff walls. They emerge from the waves of water. Our ancestors are not only human ancestors. What do you see when you fly to the top of the ancestor tree? Let there be no regrets, no sadness, no anger, no acts of disturbance to these lands. I like that poem because it was really talking about the disconnection that people have from nature and just how there are people that there are people and like other beings that have like passed on that you know they want to see that we take care of the land, but we're not doing it. So it's kind of like you're just hurting yourself in the long run, and you're deeply hurting like the other spirits that belong to Earth now. The last one I'm gonna read is called Washing My Mother's Body, and this is a long one, just to let you know, but I really felt like the emotion come up as I read this one, so it's a good one. I never got to wash my mother's body when she died. I returned to take care of her in memory. That's how I make peace with when things are left undone. I go back and open the door. I step in to make my ritual, to do what should have been done, what needs to be fixed so my spirit can move on, so that the children and grandchildren are not caught in a knot of regret they do not understand. I find the white enamel pan she used for bread and biscuits. It is the same pan she used to bathe us when we were babies. I turn the faucet on and hold my hand under the water until it is warm, the temperature one uses to wash an infant. I find a clean washcloth in a stack of washcloths. She had nothing in her childhood. She made sure she had plenty of everything when she grew up to make her own life. Her closets were full of pretty dresses. So many she had not time to wear them all. They were bought by the young girl who wore the same flower sack dress to school every day, the one she had to wash out every night and hang up to dry near the wood stove. I pick up a bar of soap from her sink, the same soap she used yesterday morning to wash her face. When she looked in the mirror, did she know it would be her last sunrise? I move over pill bottles, a clock radio on the table by the bed, a pen, and sat down by the pan. I straightened the blankets over her to keep her warm for dignity. I start with her face. Her face is unlined even 2 months before her 80th birthday. She was known for her beauty, and when younger passed for the Cherokee that she was through her mother and her mother's mother all the way back to time's beginning. My mother had the iron pot given to her by her Cherokee mother, whose mother gave it to her, given to her by the United States government on the Trail of Tears. She grew flowers in it. As I wash my mother's face, I can tell her how beautiful she is, how brave, how her beauty and bravery live on in her grandchildren. Her face is relaxed, peaceful. Her earth memory body has not left yet, but when I see her the next day, embalmed and in the casket in the funeral home, it will be gone. Where does it go? It is heavier than the spirit who lifted up and flew. I think of it making the rounds to every place it has loved to say goodbye. Goodbye to the house where I brought my babies home, she sings. Goodbye to June's bar, where I was the shuffleboard queen. I cannot say goodbye yet. I will never say goodbye. I lift up each arm to wash. Her hands still wear her favorite rings. She loved her body and decorated it with shiny jewelry, with creams and makeup. I am tender over the burned scar on her arm from when she cooked at the place with the cruel boss who insisted she reach her hand into the fryer later to clean it. She had protested it was still hot and suffered a deep burn. That scar always reminded me of her coming in from working long hours in restaurants, her uniform drenched with sweat, determination, and exhaustion. Once she came home and I was burning up with a fever, she pulled out the same pan I am dipping the washcloth in now, only she's added rubbing alcohol to bring the fever down. She washes tenderly, tells me about her friend Chunky left her husband again, and how she knows her old boss, a Jewish woman who treated her kindly, has cancer. She doesn't know how she does, she just knows. She doesn't tell me that. I find it in a journal she's left me, a day book in which she has written notes for me to find when she is gone. I wash her neck, lift the blankets to move down her heart. I thank her body for carrying us through the tough story, through the violence of my father and her second husband. The mother's mother died when she was born, and her adopted mother, another Cherokee woman, had no love in her heart for a tiny girl whose light hair betrayed her Indianness, unlike the baby's older, darker sister who would stay within their circle. Because her mother was not there for her. My grandmother did not know how to mother my mother. The story is all there in her body as I wash her to prepare her to let her to let to be let down into earth and return all stories to the earth. My body memories rise up as I wash. I recall carrying my two children, rocking them, and feeding them with my body. How I knew myself as beloved earth in that body. I uncovered my mother's hands, my mother's legs. I remembered the varicose veins that swelled like rivers when my mother would get off a long shift of standing and cooking, and carried more than a woman should carry. A woman should be honored like a queen. Traditionally, we treated our women with that kind of respect, my Creek husband tells me. Ha, I laugh and ask him, then why aren't you cooking my dinner? Then I wash her feet, caress them. You will have some rest now, I tell my mother. Even as I know my mother was never one for resting, I cover her. I make the final ring of the washcloth and drape it over the pan. I brush my mother's hair, kiss her forehead. I ask the keepers of the journey to make sure her travel is safe and sure. I ask the angels whom she loved, with whom she spoke frequently, to take her home, but wait, not before I find her favorite perfume, and I sing her favorite song softly. I don't know the name of the song, just a few phrases. One of the old homemade heartbreak songs, where there's a moment of happiness wound through. And then I let her go. There's a map, a series of maps that are there and always have been there. They are transparent and layered, one on top of the other, one generation over the other. The lines of connection are relentlessly weaving, patterning rhythmically, mythically, and historically by image, sound, and sense. Each map is a being with a mouth and a tail, even as it is a field of ocean or grass. They are making helixes of memory. Memory is always moving. My mother was a songwriter and singer. She is William Blake's little lamb who made thee, doubts thou know who made thee, and Alfred Lord Tennyson. She is the traditional Cherokee song sung at her aunt's funeral. She is the burning ring of fire running away to Independence, Kansas at 16. She is Crazy sung by Patsy Cline in A Wake of Heartache. That was my mother singing all those years. My mother's gifts were trampled by economic necessity and emotional imprisonment. My father was a dancer, a rhythm keeper. His ancestors were orators, painters, tribal chiefs, stomp dancers, preachers, and speakers. His mother was a saxophone player and painter in Indian Territory before Oklahoma statehood. All his relatively short life, he looked for a vision or song to counter the heartache of history. Rivers are old roads, as are songs to traverse memory. I emerge from the story, dripping with the waters of memory. Well, I just thought it was important to read a celebrated Native American poet, a woman poet, and I definitely recommend getting this book to read. It was at my library, thankfully, and I think it's really important to read the experiences of the people that are kind of like a story is told for them. So I think it's really important to hear. At least this is from a specific woman that can't like tell everyone's story, but I just think that it's really important. Like they show images of like the Trail of Tears and where it went through, and it's just really important historical text. And I hope that you enjoyed this reading today, and make sure you go vote. Just casted our vote. Obviously, I think it's a little obvious who we voted for, but anyway, have a good rest of your week.